Hey guys, it's Mary. So, it's been a while. It's been a long time actually. I said I would make a video coming beginning of August and it is now the end of August. I am very, very, very sorry. Um, Life has gotten in the way. What I'm going to do right now is going to do the totally didn't book tag. The first question is totally didn't need to have sequels. So what I'm going to say for this is the selection series, but for this, I don't think I needed The Crown or The Heir was the other one? The Heir or The Crown. I think I could have lived without knowing about their child's life. I didn't need to know this. I would have just been perfectly fine with the ending she had written for the one. Also, the little, happy birthday, snippet she wrote that was somewhere online. I would have been fine. And I read both of these books in, 6 hours each. The 2 books. And I was just like, well, these are fine books. They're not as good as the first 3. They are not as entertaining. And and she didn't end up with the guy that I liked, which is not the deal breaker, but it's the fact that there was that whole will they, won't they thing going on. And it kind of just ruined it. I understand, but it just kind of ruined it for me, and these books weren't exactly the best that Kiera Cass has written. So the second is totally didn't need to have more than one point of view. I think there's a general consensus on this with Allegiant. I totally didn't need to have Tobias's point of view. I only needed Triss's. I only really cared about Triss's because, that's the story we were reading for 2 books. We were going through her mind, and suddenly we just switched from Triss to Tobias, and suddenly I would just be very, very confused because it would be Tobias talking, saying Tobias said blah blah blah, and I thought, wait, I thought I was in Tobias's point of view, but then it would turn out to be, oh wait, no, I'm in Triss's, and that kind of pissed me off so much. I was just like, I don't know what's going on, besides the fact that this is a really long book. I don't really like the fact that it's going between 2 different things. I could have lived with Triss's POV throughout the entire thing, and then Tobias's, at the epilogue. Or I could have just lived throughout Triss, throughout the entire book of Allegiant, and just had 4. That's it. This was just, 1, too confusing and boring, as an ending book. And 2, besides the confusing and boring, the added POV didn't help. I'm sorry, Veronica Roth, but this should be more of the books I hate book tag, because I didn't like the last 2 selection books, and I didn't like this. So, but this is the totally didn't book tag, and this totally didn't need to have Tobias's view in it. So the next one would be totally didn't need to have a cover change in the middle of the series, and I've never had really one of those book series that has had the that has had that problem, unless you kind of count Maximum Ride, because there were several books that would end up like these, and there were other books that would end up looking like YA books on the covers, and they would go back and forth. And I'm gonna use this later, but this just kind of pissed me off. This also could have been used for totally didn't need to have sequels, because it totally didn't need to go past the trilogy. Number 4, totally didn't need to have a love triangle. if you've read this book, at least halfway through this book or something, you know there's somewhat of a love triangle going on. It's going to be Jacob and Jacob's grandfather and Jacob's grandfather's girlfriend slash ex-girlfriend slash love interest. It's weird, okay? Like, being in love with your grandfather's, like, ex-girlfriend from, like, however long ago. It is weird and it is gross, and I just didn't need that. Like, every time a romantic scene would, like, come through the book, I'd be like, I don't need this. Like, what is this? What is this book? Like, I didn't need this love triangle kind of. It felt weird to me. I don't think it should have been included, and if a love, like, relationship was going to come in, I don't think it necessarily needed to be with the grandfather. I think it could have been with another person, like another peculiar, and I would have been fine with that. But not the grandfather, not a blood relative, nothing of that sort. Nope. Next book is totally didn't even need this book to be included in the series. Yeah, kind of boring. I can understand where it kind of fits in, but this book just kind of, like, I debated putting this series halfway down, but I didn't love the series. I liked the series. First book was great. The second book was really boring because you're just, like, doing this one thing the entire book, and it just doesn't really matter because you're gonna end up in the same place anyway. But I just did not really think this book needed to be included. Like, you could have fit it into Reach. Like, let's be honest. You could have cut half of this down, and it wouldn't have even mattered. Next book, totally didn't need a cliffhanger. Summer I Turned Pretty. I was so confused by this cliffhanger. It was ridiculous. I was just like, wait, what's going on? Like, what's happening now? Like, and I didn't read the second or third book. I kind of marathoned the second and third books because I just, like, couldn't wait to read them. I wasn't going to go to a Barnes & Noble. I bought them on my Kindle so I could, like, immediately read them. And it makes so much more sense in the second book. The cliffhanger does, because I just sat there wondering for, like, several minutes. What does this mean? What does this mean? I have no idea what this means. Does this mean they're together? Does this mean they're not? What the heck does this mean? And it makes sense when you read the second book, obviously, but I just didn't think that this needed that a little extra bit. She could have done it in a different way where, like, it didn't have the cliffhanger, but I understand where Jenny Han is coming from with that book. 7, totally didn't need to have one point of view. So I know this is a little controversial question for a lot of people because a lot of people don't like multiple point of views. But I really did love this book. So, Girl Online by Zoe Sugg. I really loved the idea of this book, and I really loved how it was all about a girl who, like, fell in love with this guy who she didn't know exactly who he was. She didn't know his other life. I would have liked to see it from the boy's point of view, though. I would have liked to see him wonder, oh my god, like, this girl doesn't know who I am. This is great. This is wonderful. I haven't read the second one yet, so I don't know if that includes. But this one, I just feel like this one could have used a little bit of the boy's point of view, even, like, 1 chapter or 2 chapters. It really doesn't matter. But I really just wanted to see what his point of view was. like, throughout the book, you can kind of see, oh my god, she does, like, she doesn't know who I am. She has all of these other things going on. But I just needed to see it from the boy's point of view, that he just really likes the girl, and because she doesn't know who she is, she's not this crazy fangirl. So I just loved that. I actually don't have the next one. I have it on audiobook. I have the first, like, 4 books on audiobook, and I stopped after book 2, which was a really big waste of my money. I could have gotten something else, but totally didn't need that much hype. I really felt like Throne of Glass was so hyped up, and I was so ready to, like, love this series, like, binge this series, listen to this series over and over again. Didn't do it for me. Sorry, didn't do it for me. Didn't really care. I think the characters are strong. I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think that book might have been for me, but I think I just heard about it so much on BookTube that I was just like, yes, this book. And then it was a huge, huge, huge disappointment for me. Book 9 totally didn't need a relative book reference. And I'm going to hold up The Lost Hero because I'm not going to drag on my Percy Jackson books right now because there's a ton of stuff, like, in front of them upstairs. But I actually found it on the back. I just found the quote I was looking for on the back of this book. So it comes from The Battle of the Labyrinth by Kirkus Reviews. Sorry, Kirkus, I'm going to use you for a minute. Look no further for the next Harry Potter. Meet Percy Jackson, as legions of fans already have. You don't need to, like, compare everything to Harry Potter. Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, the only thing they have in common is their fantasy. That's the only thing they have in common, and that they're great series. I don't believe books should be compared to one another, because I've talked about this earlier in one of my earlier videos. There was this book called, what was it called? It was called Tunnels. And I forget who the authors were, but it was this book that was supposed to be the next Harry Potter. And I bought it because it was supposed to be the next Harry Potter. It was supposed to be, like, huge, loved. And then I read the first, like, 20 pages and I got so bored. And then I never heard about any of their books again. Like, I know there are several more books out, but I just really didn't care that much about those books. And apparently, like, the people who thought they were going to be the next Harry Potter were obviously wrong. They weren't wrong on the fact that Percy Jackson became a huge hit, like Harry Potter, just not as huge a hit. And Harry Potter is, like, I'm not gonna say is better than Percy Jackson. It's, like, my number 1 favorite series, and Percy is, like, tied with, like, 10 other series for, like, number 3, just below Twilight. And I'm not gonna apologize for that. And I just don't think books need to be compared to each other, especially Harry Potter and Percy Jackson. I read that and I was just like, no, that ain't gonna work out. Number 10, totally didn't deserve my time. And this kind of goes back to, I don't want to say number 1 because it's completely different, but I did say I was going to use this book again. Not the entire Maximum Ride series. Not the entire Maximum Ride series. I think book 3 should have been the end. It should have stayed as a trilogy. And, like, there were how many more books written? I don't know. I was about to say 7, and then I realized it probably isn't 7. It probably isn't, like, 10 books. But now that I think about it, it's probably, like, 8 or 9 or something. And the changing of covers wasn't fun, and they just don't match. And these books kind of got boring after a while. Like, I really didn't care what happened to the characters. It just, the last books completely didn't deserve my time. I felt like I could have read a bunch more books and cared a lot more about those books than I could have, like Max and The Final Warning and Angel and Fang. And I actually didn't read the last book. I had my friend tell me what happened in the last book because she read it, and I was just like, no. Once I heard what was going to happen, I was like, no, that I wasn't planning on reading the book anyway, but after she told me what happened, I was like, no, not at all. So, sorry, James Patterson and Maximum Ride number whatever this is after, I think this is 5. Anything after 3 didn't deserve my time. So that is the Totally Didn't book tag, and I will hopefully be back again soon. So I will see you guys later, and I love you, and bye.